So, okay, what about this then? So let's just start at the top, right? Obviously, I trust you to know what you can say, what you can't, right? People obviously were super hyped with Golden Guardians last year, specifically in the summer split. Like, I know everyone now is going to spin it like, they weren't even that good because in the regular split, the record was just okay, blah, 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 the rest of it. Yeah. But the part that I find bizarre is, like, you almost swept TSM twice. And the key word there is twice, because everyone's forgetting, like, that, like, third game was, like, that was almost done as well. That was almost a 3-0 twice. So, to me, like, those results can't be a joke. Like, you don't just accidentally trip over and almost beat TSM's best of 5 2 times, who obviously went on to win the split eventually, right? Is it safe to say, at the end of the year, if it was up to you, you'd want most of those players to be in Golden Guardians for this year? Is that a reasonable sentiment to say?
Oh, yeah, that was the plan. The plan was to roll back with most of the same guys and look to upgrade where we could. Because we heard about, obviously, the import rule changing for OS. So FBI wasn't going to be an import. And we were like, oh, shit, that's a big ticket for us to upgrade this where we want to and push for actual, like, championship win.
So what would you say then? Is it just the situation that Golden Guardians isn't in a position where they could offer what 100 Thieves did? Did the players specifically want to leave? I heard it was like some sort of package deal anyway. What would you say to that?
Yeah, it was around all the COVID stuff, obviously led to like funding things. I know a similar thing happened to FlyQuest, I'm pretty sure. It's where obviously like want to be able to compensate these guys for doing better, performing better. Those guys obviously are going to want it too, because they know their value now. They came in on like league minimum, you know?
Sure.
So obviously if you're a top team now, like you want to get paid. I can respect that. It just wasn't a real way to like manage what they wanted, where they could obviously get on a good team together and build around that with what we wanted. So we just looked to move them to do like kind of best by them. Like it fucking sucked for us, but I knew, at least for my side as a coach, the next year probably would have sucked if we just forced them to play for us when they know they could have probably upgraded on another team and gotten like other players they wanted to play around as a core.
Right, obviously, from the very beginning of Golden Guardians coming into the LCS, they did actually brand themselves quite heavily with the idea of like it's a development team and, you know, we're going to bring forth new talent, blah, blah, blah. Which, listen, I'll be cynical like I always will. That usually means to me I don't want to spend a lot of money, you know, I'd rather like try and sort of min-max, you know. I mean, the irony is people have just destroyed this term completely, but really the idea is I'm going to try and do like the Moneyball approach, you know, I'm going to try and like get the people that others don't think have that much value, but for my team, they're going to do a little bit extra and it'll make it, you know, sort of more than the sum of its parts. So, with that said, it does look like every few years, the teams basically only added big names that didn't have anywhere else to go, like High, Froggen, Haunt. So these were people who just at that point in their career, you know, if they want to play and if they want to probably get paid anything decent, it had to be a team like this. Or it's newer names, you know, it's people that are getting a chance. Is there, what would you say, beyond, obviously this extends before, you know, this period, as you say, where certain incomes aren't there, investment might not be able to double down if someone has a sports franchise, for example. I understand why they wouldn't have a load of money to spend this year. What would you say to that? Like, when you're a coach within the team, is it understood for you that, like, I might lose some of these players each year, or if someone gets too good, they're going to go and I'm going to have to start over again? Is it something that you see as a similar type project? I'm here to basically just work with what I've got and develop talent every year?
No, actually, like we had a pretty clear process of what we wanted to do, at least between like me and the managers in the first year coming in 2019. Like the whole reason the first roster was like the way it was, a bunch of veterans, that was like the reject roster. Everyone just kind of got like booted from their team or didn't have anywhere to go, and wanted to figure out like what veterans would actually be good to build around, and figured the best way to try it was just throw them all on one team at once. Hopefully we can make playoffs with this team, which like we realistically should be able to if we have like Hanser, Frog, and Ole. You should make playoffs with that at a minimum. 2 of those guys won NALCS, you know? We figured like we'll try that, see who we want to build around from that point, and then try to develop some younger players off of that. We stuck with definitely in contracts that first year because, I mean, realistically, like that team in 2018 before he came in, like it was pretty bad, right? Like it was pretty shit. It didn't do too well. So we figured like those guys might do good. Like contracts came off C9, like maybe he'll do better with veteran guys around him, and definitely was still fairly new. And then the next year was like, okay, now we're going to build rookies like into that roster with the veterans that we wanted to keep, and see how that goes, which ultimately towards the end ended up going okay, but obviously started off pretty bad since we ended up in a spot where we ended up with Keith support because we ran out of options really there, and Hanser was the veteran that we returned with. And it was more so around building off of FBI and closer. But the whole goal was ultimately like the year after that was the year we were supposed to push to win. I know Danon came in when he was joining management that he had like a 3 or 4 year timeline that he was looking at to make the team a competitive team. Competitive being like not just hitting 6th place in playoffs and burning out, but like actually being like a top 4 team and contesting that spot of where TLC9, TSM are sitting. So that was like the actual plan. The plan was never just to sit around and be like a development team over and over. But obviously, I don't really know 100% like what actually is true or not about that. That's obviously the pitch I'm going to get. But I trust Danon with that part. Like he's been pretty straightforward with me with a lot of things. So I'd assume that's where it's at. But as a coach, like I don't get full context of what's really going to happen,